All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the one and only Entrepreneurial Psychology Masterclass. I am so thrilled to bring this to you for free on YouTube. My name is Dakota. I'm going to be instructing you through this particular journey that we're about to embark on together. And through this masterclass, we're literally going to be taking you behind the scenes of what makes up successful entrepreneurs. What's their personality temperaments? What's their personality facets? What mindsets do they possess? And what habits are they building and using every single day to rise to the very top of every industry and dominate those industries instead of competing within them? So if you're an entrepreneur or you're someone who is considering about jumping in, going down this rabbit hole of becoming an entrepreneur, my promise to you is through this web class, through this master class, I'm literally going to be able to save you years of unwanted pain, years of trouble, years of sacrifice, and years of not feeling fulfilled by taking you through this master class and really allowing you to dial in yourself first. Understand your own personality type first. Understand where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and if you have the right personality to become an entrepreneur, and if you don't, how to build those temperaments up to where you do have a higher success rate of succeeding in entrepreneurship. Now, one of the things that really motivated me to start this and bring this to YouTube for completely free is over at psychologysecrets.com and sellops.com. We use a lot of these psychometric assessments and a lot of high-level psychology to build up professionals. We're talking about C-suite executives. We're talking about high-performing professionals that are in sales that are making $200,000 to $500,000 a year. And a lot of people don't get to really see this because they're not paid members in our program. So our goal with this YouTube channel is to literally dump all this content that other people are charging tens of thousands of dollars for completely free. And what really inspired this is I started thinking one day, as an education system, it's probably no surprise to you that majority of us, depending on where you're at in this world, a lot of education systems are quite frankly broken, right? Like, in the US here, I would say it's probably one of the broken education systems in the world. But the real problem of it is you go through preschool, you go through kindergarten, you go through all these grades, you get into middle school, you get into high school. And through that process, I don't know about you, but me personally, I didn't take a lot of psychometric assessments. I didn't really understand myself that well from a, clinical psychology kind of overview, if you will. And what ended up happening and what I noticed happen is, a lot of people that I went to school with, they chose majors based off an occupation that they wanted to do. And they got into school. They got into Virginia Tech. They got into Roanoke College. They were paying $42,000, $50,000 a year at Roanoke College for tuition and everything in between. And then halfway through, their schooling, they decided, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not exciting to me. I don't want to do this occupation. And then they end up switching majors. And what happens there? The colleges make money either way. So it really makes no difference. But again, they switch majors, they go through this rabbit hole. Some people I know have done this 2 or 3 times, or some of them stick with their major. They end up getting a bachelor's or a master's, and then they commit to an occupation if they can get a job after college, which unfortunate, that's a whole nother conversation. But they get into these occupations and they quickly realize that they hate what they do. So now they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to go in debt for something that they can't file bankruptcy on, and they're stuck with this degree that only supports a major that they're not even freaking interested in anymore. So my goal with this masterclass is to try to prevent all of that. It is to provide you with the proper tools and resources and knowledge and the training so you can select your occupation based off your personality temperaments. And it's not just going to be a broad overview. I'm literally going to go into great detail on what temperaments make up certain occupations, what you can do with these temperaments, and where you're going to be best fulfilled as a professional or as an entrepreneur. So this particular masterclass is going to be split up into a couple of areas. Part one of this masterclass, we're going to be talking all about personality. So we're going to go through introduction. We're going to talk about neuroticism. We're going to talk about consciousness. We're going to talk about extroversion, agreeableness, openness. We're going to be talking about the best personality temperaments and facets that make up super successful entrepreneurs. So you can understand, do you have the right personality type for entrepreneurship? And if you don't, how do you reverse it and how do you improve it to where you actually have some probability of succeeding, right? So I think that that's very important. Now, once we get through personalities, there's going to be 3 or 4 parts to this. We're going to go through personalities in part number 1. Part number 2, we're going to go through mindsets. Part number 3, we're going to go through routines. And then part number 4, we're going to go through habits and peak performance and really showing you how to operate at your full potential through automation, delegation, elimination, understanding what your time is worth, and eliminating type 1 and type 2 waste. So this is going to be a super exciting masterclass. Now, as humans, we all perceive the world differently, right? Like, you don't see the world the same way I do. I don't see the world the same way you do. And a lot of this comes down to our belief systems, our personality, our upbringing, and everything in between. What's true to you is not true to me. What's true to me is probably not true to you. Or we might have some mutual truths, but some mutual things that we don't carry as truths, right? So when you're born and you're brought into this world at a very young age, unfortunately, a lot of your personality, temperaments, and facets, they're already set in stone, right? But what ends up happening is you're exposed to this environment. Like infants, for example, you have no control. You're just exploited by your environment, right? And if you come from a good environment and a good upbringing, your personality shifts a little bit. So I think a lot of personality is set in stone. But what I do know for a fact is based off your upbringing from 0 to 7, a lot of this scales in either a positive way or a negative way. So like, for example, if you score very high in agreeableness early on and you're around somebody who's a very disagreeable person, then you may move up that scale and become a little less agreeable and more disagreeable. But still, you're kind of set in stone. So it's not like you can have dramatic changes here. You can, but it takes years of practice, tons of training. You're not going to do it, subconsciously. It's not going to just naturally happen. But the good news is you can take some of these personality temperaments and work on them. And remember, training is not something you've done. It's something you do. So if you don't have the right personality type for entrepreneurship as we go through this, just understand it will take work, but you can reverse it to some extent. So there's that. Now, for example, let's say you're an extrovert on today's video or an introvert. Extroverted people, very social, very outgoing, right? Introverted, they're more reserved, they're more calm. They don't like to really express themselves. They kind of stay to themselves, right? So let's say you were born and you scored very low in extroversion. Now, you can reverse this, but it will take time. But if you score very high in extroversion to begin with, there's going to be certain occupations, certain jobs that you can go with that are going to increase the odds of you being successful, and you are going to have a massive edge over people who are introverts, right? And it's the same thing with, agreeableness too. Like being an agreeable person. There's certain jobs that work great for agreeable people, and there's certain jobs that work super well for disagreeable people. There's no right or wrong, but there is a way to hedge the bet in your favor and increase your probability of fulfillment, of success, and of course, avoiding unwanted pain. So if you want a life of purpose and fulfillment, and you're serious about reaching your full potential, you must start by understanding your personality type before you go committing to an occupation. And how do we do that? Well, we do this through a variety of psychometric assessments, right? Some of us have been through these. Some of these have, you've probably heard of Myers-Briggs. You've probably heard of the DISC assessment. Maybe you've heard of the Big Five type indicator. But with psychometric assessments, these are tools that are basically a field of psychology that are just devoted towards testing, measurement, and assessing psychological measure. Now, there's psychometrics that revolve around knowledge. There's psychometrics that revolve around behavior and attitudes. There's some that revolve around potential. There's some that, really revolve around, being smart, cognitive function, right? And then there's others that revolve around personality types. And that's the psychometric assessments that we're going to be covering in part 1 of this. So when it comes to personality assessments, psychometric assessments, there's really 3 core psychometric assessments that are popular. One, you have the most efficient, the most effective, the one that is being used by clinical psychologists all over the world, and that is the Big 5 type indicator. Second on that list, we have the Myers-Briggs type indicator. This is a useful psychometric assessment, but unfortunately, it's very old. Things have innovated over the last 100 years, right? So it's more of a psychometric assessment that people like to use in organizations because there is no good or bad. It just categorizes everybody into different things, and there is no constructive criticism on, hey, you're neurotic, your emotions are unstable. It's a great psychometric assessment for somebody who needs an introduction to psychometrics that doesn't really want to get offended, right? The DISC assessment, that is the least favorite one. This is kind of branded for the corporate environment. A lot of people took to this model and charged a lot of money for it, used it in corporate America. Unfortunately, I find it not effective at all. I've ran thousands of them. I've ran thousands of Myers-Briggs type indicator. And my favorite psychometric assessment is the Big 5. Jordan Peterson uses it. Every psychologist on the planet uses it, and you should use it too. Now, the Big 5 type indicator is a very unique personality psychometric assessment because it scores based off 1, conscientiousness. It scores on 2, based off extroversion, 3, based off openness, 4, based on agreeableness, and 5, based on neuroticism. And these are like the 5 key imperial approaches to understanding one's personality, right? Now, the problem with this is a lot of people go through this, but they don't exactly know what all this means and how it all blends together and creates a massive personality facet for an individual. So that's what I'm going to be showing you through this particular web class, through this particular masterclass, right? So what I want you guys to start by doing is I want you to take one of these psychometric assessments for yourself. This is going to be more of an interactive masterclass. This is not going to be me just talking to you. This is going to be us working together, really dialing in your mind and really understanding yourself. So in order to do that, I need you to go take one of these first. So to do that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head over to Truity.com, Truity. Again, that is Truity.com. And I want you to take a Big 5 type indicator. It's 100% for free. You can do the premium version, which gives you more context. It won't be needed for this masterclass. But if you're someone like me and you're just obsessed with this stuff, go ahead and buy the premium version, save it in a Google Drive, and you can always look back on it. So what I want you to do is I want you to go take that assessment. And then after you take that assessment, I want you to look at your openness score. I want you to look at your consciousness score. I want to look at your extroversion score, your agreeableness score, and your neuroticism score. But here's the deal with this. Answer this test truthfully. Like, the only person you're hurting is yourself if you don't. So go through each question. Take your time. Spend 15, 20 minutes doing this. And then come back, and we're literally going to break apart your personality temperaments one by one. So homework for today. Step number 1. If you want to get notifications as we're releasing this masterclass to the public for completely free, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell button below the video so you get notified when we pump these masterclasses out. Second thing, head over to Truity.com. Take your Big 5 type indicator. Download that assessment to your computer so you have it. Save it on your desktop. Put it somewhere so you don't lose it. And last but not least, on the next video, be ready to go through and we're going to break apart all of these different personality facets and teach you what they mean and also teach you how to change them, morph them, and become a better human and have a higher probability of succeeding. So that concludes lesson number 1 of the Entrepreneurial Psychology Masterclass. Very short lesson, but on the next ones, I can promise you this, if you stick with us, we are going to completely blow your mind. So we'll catch you on the next one. Enjoy the day, be great, and we'll see you on lesson number 2. Talk soon.